Hello and welcome to Tech Talk with T&E. Right now it's just T. Elizabeth might join us here in a little bit. Anyways, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff that we ask you to do. Today we're just so freaking happy to have Herc Magnus with us from snowy Canada. We just talked about that. Herc and I think we met 5 years ago when you guys actually used to do the snowbird thing down here. Was it
God, you know what, dude? That was 10 years ago already.
10 years, dang. Yeah, because you didn't have any kids back then.
I had no kids.
Yep. So
had the life.
I didn't realize it's that freaking long. That's awesome.
Yeah, because my boy's 6, so we did 3 years in a row where we spent the winters in Phoenix right before we had our boy, our first kid. So yeah, that was like 7, 8, and 9 years ago.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. So yeah, and that's what you've done some pretty awesome stuff. So tell me what you're doing nowadays.
I'm doing the same thing I've always done, man. I just I'm an SEO guy. I'm a nerd, right? I'm an SEO nerd, and I build software, and that's what I've done. I've never changed. I know a lot of people know about the rank and rent thing, so I still do that.
I was going to ask you, is that still going? I mean, obviously, it's probably not going as good as it used to, but it's still a viable resource for.
Oh, it's a great resource, man. For me and like the people I teach, the reason I love rank and rent so much is because specifically for anyone who wants to get started in SEO, I really think that's probably the best model to start at. Because number one, it's the easiest. Okay. So local SEO is easier than affiliate SEO. Let's just, put the divide right there. There's local SEO and affiliate SEO. Local's way easier, way less competition, right? But then local SEO, to me, you kind of divide it into two groups. One where you're an agency style and you're doing SEO for a client. But when you're doing that, you don't pick the location, you don't pick the niche. The client comes to you and says, I need this in this location. So that can be challenging at times. It cannot be challenging. But with rank and rent, you pick the location, you pick the niche. So if you know how to find the easy stuff, right, all the hard parts of SEO are automatically easier right away. And the best part for me is, like, especially if you're learning SEO, nobody's breathing down the back of your neck to get a result. Like, there's nothing scarier than having a guy pay you a couple grand to start doing SEO. And then he's like, what's going on? Where's my results, right? Where with rank and rent, it's your property, you own it, you're doing the SEO. There's no bosses, it's yours. You know what I mean? So you could take 6 years if you want to. I don't recommend waiting that long, but there's no pressure, right? And then when you do get it right, you now have an asset. It's a very viable asset to turn into a profit. So it's a great way to learn SEO, still make a profit. And for that reason, I still think as a beginner, that's where people should start and learn the fundamentals, because the fundamentals of SEO don't change. What changes is the difficulty.
Exactly. 100%. So now, do you still, obviously you have the GBPs or they'll always be GMBs to me. So you still have those, and those are obviously getting to be a real royal pain in the ass for everybody. It's
I never did get into GBP for that reason, right? And everyone kind of looks at GBP as the holy grail of lead gen, and it is. Like, it's a great lead gen method. Like, it's, when you have 3-pack showing up and then organic, and 3-pack's always going to get a lot of calls. But I've never touched the GBPs unless it was an upsell to an organic ranking, because I look at GBPs the way you do, in that unless it's a legitimate business letting you manage their profile, where it's a real profile and everything adds up, then what you're doing is you're trying to game the system in order to generate leads. And Google's onto that game, right? Like, there's this cat and mouse chase where people figure something else out, it blows up, and Google finds it, shuts it down. And that cycle has never stopped for as long as I've seen GBPs. So what I like to do is I'll start with, like, if I'm in the rank and rent realm, build a profile, get it generating leads. And when you rank organically, there's a real good stick factor to that. And I mean, it sticks for a long, long time. Like, the very first rank and rent guide I wrote, I don't even know how long ago that was. It's got to be about 12 to 15 years ago. That site is still ranking number one, and I haven't touched it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone through different clients over the years. So we've rebranded it somewhat, but the rankings stick and the leads volume sticks. So when you take on a client with something that's foundationally sticky and you set a baseline, we're going to deliver like 30, 50 leads a month for X dollars, nothing goes wrong. Mm-hmm. Then you can turn around and say, listen, I might have a way to increase the amount of leads. Do you want me to give it a go? And they're like, well, of course. And you say, okay, well, if I can get it to this amount of leads, you're going to pay for more, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now go play with the GBPs, right? Yeah. Because if it works, great. And then 2 months later down the line, when Google slaps you and you lose the leads, you fall back on the foundation and you say, sorry, it didn't work out, but you don't lose a client. Now reverse that situation. If you open with a GBP and you're sending your clients all these leads and they're happy, and then Google slaps you, and then the client's like, what's up? Yeah, exactly. And you have nothing to fall back on. That client's gone and he ain't coming back.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I've been telling people all along is that, I don't even like the GBP game as an agency. It sucks. There's zero control. Yeah. There's, shit happens just on a freaking seems like a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, depending on how big you are. But the organic stuff is where I've always focused. That's what we talk about. Sure, we talk about maps and everything else, but if you get a map suspended or an actual listing and it takes you 3 to 4 weeks to get that back, and still the same philosophy, if you're not ranking organically, you just shot that client right in the foot. So I'm the same. Now, do you sell individual leads, or you come up with a way to say, hey, for 50 leads, it's going to be $1,500 or whatever?
Yeah. So I'll try and establish a baseline of how many leads I'm getting on a monthly basis, weekly basis, whatever, right? Where I know, okay, I'm going to be able to deliver this many leads. And then when I'm approaching clients, I'm basing it off that. And I'm saying, we're benchmarking. I'm going to bring you, 20 to 30 leads at this rate. And if they go down, and for maybe seasonal stuff or whatever, I'll reduce my rate. But if they go up, I'll raise my rate. So I set an expectation very early of here's what you can expect and here's what you can expect to pay for that. But my pricing does this.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't do by lead. Just because one thing I don't like to do is getting into nitty gritty arguments over, that was only 61 seconds. Like you said. Exactly. Or 59 seconds and you said 60, and like I don't like problems. I'd rather make a little bit less for zero problems where I don't have to look at it and be like, look, that's the price, let's go. Whereas a per lead with a client is a little more granular, and I don't like doing it that way. If I was selling them to a PPC network, whatever, who cares? But I only sell to PPC networks in the beginning till the client's on board.
Yeah, that's that's interesting because it's like when you start, like most of mine were either rank and rent. You rent the whole website. You can expect X amount of leads up to 50 to 75, but over 75 it gets more expensive or whatever. Yeah. But then I started ranking and banking. I started flipping my freaking lead gen sites to the client. $25,000-$30,000, go out and build another one, and so that was always fun too. But the individual lead model, I just think is a management freaking nightmare.
Yeah, I don't like complexity in my business. Yeah, I'm either lazy or stupid, or I don't know. I don't have enough. Like, time is the most valuable asset anybody has, right? So 100%. Take the time, take the simplicity in your business over the money, because the money will come, I think, but you can't get back time.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. And but I definitely agree that, number one, you shouldn't learn SEO with a client. You should learn it on an asset that you control, that you own, that you can test, that you can say, oh shit, that didn't work. Kind of back up and stuff. But it's an interesting game. What do you think? How has AI affected you and your business, even your software that you have?
Yeah, well, we've been developing AI into our software for about, I think, 2 or 3 years now.
Okay.
And I think AI is 100% a necessity in this business now. I mean,
I agree.
If you have any sort of, conception that AI is hurting you in any way, you're gonna lose.
Oh,
You're gonna
big time.
lose because everybody's moved over to AI. I don't care about the myths that people, well, it's got to be human readable content or it's got to not be AI detected content. That's all bullshit. Google's even said themselves, it's not the content or where the content was written. It's about the usefulness of the content to the visitor of the site. I just think if you're not using AI in your business now, you're going to be dying probably a quicker death than a slow death, to be honest, because the speed and efficiency of AI is insane. The growth of AI is insane. So you got to get a handle on it. To be honest, like, it makes life easier. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it. And the only reason I could think is people are afraid that it's going to hurt them, but it won't. It'll make you better, faster. You'll still make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes either way. Just make them faster and recover faster.
Totally.
Okay.
And, that's the biggest thing is that, I spoke at a little local event here a few weeks ago, and one of the guys there said, we absolutely will not use AI content. We'll absolutely, they were just like heavy black line. And I'm just like, if you're still paying, he's still paying between 30 and $50 per article, like we were doing, years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, you're going to go downhill quick. And by the time you realize it, it's too late, So I think it's just more of an education thing where, especially for clients, our clients love our AI content because we train Chat GPT to the client. So, and so it's more personalized. It's, really, really, really good content. And, and we're automatically including in entities and all the different things that we do and have been doing on the schema side. But, I just think it's revolutionized the way we do stuff to where our clients are just like, man, it's freaking awesome. Keep going. So,
I think, it was funny because when AI first came about and even when we first started dabbling, I remember my first command to AI was the same thing as everybody else's, like, write me a funny poem or, write me some song lyrics, some dumb shit, right? Where it's like, there's no intelligence in, intelligence out. And that's what AI is, right? Like, you put somebody intelligent with knowledge behind an AI, they're going to put intelligent, prompts in and they're going to get intelligent results out. So it's an amazing tool. I still think you have to know what you're doing. Like, you can't, let's say I didn't know anything about SEO and I went to AI and tried to do SEO. Well, good luck. You'll be better still because you can learn a lot about SEO through AI. But when you have the knowledge of what it is that you need to do as far as, keyword research, competition research, the schemas, the content, the interlinking, all that shit, and you can tell AI what to do in an intelligent way, it's going to do it 100 times faster and probably a lot better than you would have done it on your own. And even if it takes you 2 or 3 or 4 revisions, even that is still going to be faster and cheaper than going the human route. So it's undoubtedly a necessity. It's 100% a necessity.
I think the most valuable asset of it is the subtopics and other stuff that we don't even think of when we're writing and looking at stuff.
It's kind of crazy. Because in our software, one of the things we do is let me just explain the process of what our software does. Okay. We take a holistic approach to SEO fundamental. First,
before you do that, how do you say the name of your software?
I say Xagio.
Okay.
As if it were a Z in the front.
I just think that it's funny too, because I had a guy message me like 6 months ago to ask me if I used it because I mention keyword supremacy all the time. All my classes, I talk about how great keyword supremacy is. And the guy asked me, and I can't remember how he said it, but it was like, even Herc's tool.
Xagio.
Exactly. Yes. It was so off, I couldn't put 2 and 2 together real quick. So, but that's cool.
Maybe that was a mistake in when I picked the name. It's better than Project Supremacy V2 and then Project Supremacy V3. Like, we didn't need that long ass name. That's actually part of the reason we changed it is like, man, we can't be calling this V3, V4, Project Supremacy. Like, and I wanted a weird name. It literally means nothing. It doesn't like people say, what is a Xagio? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a 5-word short weird, like, what's a Twitter? Right? Like apparently Google, there is a Google. I didn't know that until, I don't know, I was like 48. But yeah, there's a Google. It literally means nothing. But what it does, okay, is it was built to take my approach to SEO. So number one, keyword research. Number two, cluster the keywords. Number three, get the competition metrics, meaning how easy or hard is it to rank for every one of those keywords in a clustered manner. Number three, optimize each cluster. Number four, write the content based on the optimizations. And then number five, write the schema based on the content and the optimizations. Right. So to go back to what you're saying, like when AI is writing about stuff that you never thought about, often in Rank and Red, I'm in an industry that I don't fully understand, like the language. Like, say, for instance, there was one that came up the other day where we were talking about masonry. I was doing a Toronto client in masonry and something called tuck pointing. I was like, I had AI write up some stuff, and it's like starting to talk about tuck pointing. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is, right?
Yep.
And that's great. That's awesome, because even if I had hired a writer who doesn't know the industry and they don't do proper research, there's going to be no piece of content that talks about tuck pointing. But AI,
for sure,
they're like, well, have you considered this? You know what I mean? And funny enough, even in keyword research, a lot of subjects or sub niches come out in our research phase. And I was like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? I don't even know what this is. Like, I was on a live webinar. And I'm starting to work with this doctor in the industry, and one of the niches came out BBL, and I was like, I don't know what the hell BBL is. Do you know what BBL is?
No.
Yeah. Like, what BBL is? Like Brazilian butt lift.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. And
still, I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then the doctor's like, oh, I know exactly what that is, and there's a surgical name for it. And this whole industry just like poof opened up. Right, because she was on the call and she's like, it means this, and there's other ways to say it, or this, and this amazing door just opened into the, the cosmetic surgery lifestyle and industry that I had no idea about because of keyword research. I think we were looking for something for eyelid surgeries, and somehow, and the way we analyze our or we do our keyword research, we look at the top ranking websites for the seed keyword. And then we just pull in all their keywords and then we cluster them, right? And so this got this one plastic surgeon offered multiple services. BBL was one of them. Boom, look into the niche, and it's like, the door closes, you narrow down your focus, and all of a sudden it's wide open again. So like AI, helped us do that. So yeah, it's incredible. Like what that tool, it thinks in a way that we don't. We're like this, right?
Oh, totally. And that's the whole thing. Like one of my favorite things to do, I've been testing different ranking softwares for the past year. But one of my favorite things to do with ChatGPT is, give me the top 100 keywords that a plumber in Dallas would make the most money on.
Yeah.
and build them out to put them in a ranking tool, So, it would come up with shit that, obviously 90% of it used no problem, but it would come up with other stuff, especially around hot water heaters. And, it was just, I just love it, because especially when we have our client calls, our strategy calls, we go in and we talk about next month's plan, and, and we'll put it into ChatGPT. Hey, how can we do better in social media ads when we have these metrics and stuff? What are we missing? And all these different things that, that really make it, I wouldn't say fun again, but it's not so boring.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I used to run a PBN network, right, where I would take orders and build links for people, because I had quite a big PBN. One of the hardest things to keep online was a writer.
Yeah.
Right. So we went through all kinds of human writers. We went through all kinds of content writing services. And eventually, in the end, we shut it down because we were getting good orders. Yeah. But then it was like this content nightmare to deliver through these orders. And it's funny, I shut that down a long time ago, long before AI came around. But now we're starting. I have a course where I'm teaching my own team, the Xagio team. There's 12 of us on the team now, and they expressed some interest in actually learning SEO. And I was like, okay, well, you build the SEO software. I think it's a great idea for you to learn SEO. Oh, so we're using my PBN again for them to build links. And as I'm teaching them how to, get the content to put on the PBNs, I'm like, wow, I should really open my PBN business again, because I won't need any employees, right? Because AI is so fast and the content's so good. And I'll tell you, the way that I do PBNs and what made it really hard for human writers is if I get a PBN that's, say, about, I don't know, tax, Okay. And I have one called Xagio. But I want to link to a pool resurfacing company. Well, I want to keep the PBN tax focused because that's what it was. That's what I want to maintain the relevance of that site. But now I have to find a creative way to blend these two topics, tax and pool resurfacing, which, that's relatively easy. But there's hard examples that have come up where our human writers would really struggle to connect those dots. But AI never, ever falters. Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to think, like it just goes. Exactly. And so now we're like, shit, we could open up our PBN again and just have the AI, doing all the content, and just like the amount of budget that was required for content in the past is eliminated. It's gone. And the speed is better now too. So, hey, Liz.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and not just in one vertical of SEO, but in all of them, right? Like it's helping in every single arena.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. I mean, especially when we do a ton of audits and a ton of, I call it forensic stuff, but and it's interesting when you put a spreadsheet and start having it take all the pertinent stuff out, like he has kind of clustering of topics and stuff, but. It's just we really haven't dived into the image side of it as much yet. But content for sure, 100%. So,
but it's funny too, because like I'm sure you've seen what it's capable of image wise, and now like as AI progresses and stuff, now we're starting to see like the video. The AI video is coming out, and like I remember back in the day when images come out and people would have like 4 arms and 16 fingers or what, it was just awful, right? And it was just instant, like that's AI, and it's come so far so fast. And video is obviously the next thing, right? It's just video is 60 frames per second, so it has to build 60 images per second. And as processing power gets better, as AI models get better, like we're gonna literally be able to not tell if it's an AI or a human generated video. They're going to be doing full movies in AI. Yeah. And it's coming. 100%. It's coming. Like there's no doubt. And
we've seen it.
Pardon me?
We've seen some of that.
Oh yeah.
Dan Kurtz did a little like movie promo. It was a fake movie. It wasn't even real. And everybody was just blown away. Like, what do you mean that's not real? Like, I mean, it looked like pretty close to studio quality. I thought, for us knowing that it's AI and all the things,
it's kind of spooky in another regard. And this is a whole like tangent of tinfoil hat stuff that we could go down. It is spooky, but right now, focus on leveraging it. You know what I mean? For your business. And if you think that, like Terry and I were talking earlier about the necessity of AI in your business, if you're one of those people that are like dead set against using it in your business, like bye.
Yeah.
See ya. Because everyone's going to be doing it faster, better, cheaper, and you're going to have your ethics, but you ain't going to have any money.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about Xagio and how it works within, it's a dashboard type platform. Does it still push and pull to the site? Okay.
Dude, Xagio is like, we just turned 10 years old, which is insane to think about. But Xagio, like, I'm going to talk about it like this. Okay. It's the heart of Xagio has always been and still is what we call the project planner feature. And most SEOs, including myself, up till the point I developed the own tool, would use probably Yoast or Rank Math or all-in-one SEO, Squirrely SEO. Like there's all these AI, there are all these AI SEO all-in-one, all these plugins, right? And kind of the idea with them is that, you want to write good meta optimizations and it'll give you like little green check marks of where you put keywords and shit like that. And it's like, that ain't good SEO. That's trusting that whoever coded the logic to show you a green check mark truly understands SEO. And I feel the same way, honestly, about keyword competition numbers. Like when you look at Moz or you look at Ahrefs and you say keyword difficulty scores, that's not your score. That's their version and their interpretation of what's difficult and not. Now, it could be accurate, could not be. I don't know. But I prefer to look at, first of all, my process of SEO is, if I want to rank for plumber Phoenix,
Mhm.
The number one thing I want to do is look at the top 10 ranking sites for Plumber Phoenix and see everything they got, right? As far as what keywords are you ranking for? How are you optimized, right? What are you doing? And that's what Xagio basically where it starts. And it will pull in all that data. And then again, like I said, the next step from there is number 2, it'll remove any non-relevant keywords like non-buyer intent stuff and
Mhm.
focus exclusively on like best plumber Phoenix, Phoenix plumber emergency, like shit that like where people are looking for a plumber. It clusters everything into really tightly focused groups. It grabs all the competition for all the keywords. And then the AI looks at all that data and then writes 5 H1 title, URL, and description suggestions for you. And then tells you which one of the 5 is probably the best to use is for an SEO perspective. And it does that for all the pages on your site. Now that's starting at a brand new site. If you have an existing site, you just click a button, it pulls in all your pages and then kind of does the same thing. And if you feel like you're lacking, then analyze your competitors, add it to the project. And now what you have is say 10 clusters of keywords, which represent pages that you should have on your site, content clusters.
Mhm.
But then the AI optimizes them and it's very, very good. And I have tons of wicked case studies about how powerful just meta optimization can be versus building backlinks or even adding content to your site. Like if you just properly optimize, but then it meta optimizes, it writes the content based on the optimizations. And then it writes schema based on the whole thing. Number 1 says the most appropriate schema for this style of page is this. And then it inserts all the details right into the schema. So it removes a difficulty from a lot of people who are confused about schema. And then the number 1 question is, or the 2 top questions, what type of schema do I need? And do I need to put it on every page of my site?
Mm-hmm.
With an AI, you don't have to make that decision. Now, again, if you know what you're doing, because I know you love schema, Terry, if you know what you're doing, you can look at what the schema that it wrote is and refine it or say, no, I need this. You know what I mean? But again, it's taking the grunt of the work out of the process for you, automating it, and then doing it for you. And then we track the rankings. And it does a lot more than that, but that's the heart of the project of Xagio.
That's pretty cool. So you guys have, so all the features are involved in all the, I mean, obviously each level has different features, but like if you got the agency plan, it's all the features that you have on the site.
Actually, all of our plans are all the exact same features. Whether you're a free user of Xagio or you're a paying user of Xagio, you have access to everything.
Okay.
But the way that we work is like a credit system. You have to have credits to run the good features like keyword research or audits or whatever, or rank tracking. So you buy a package based on, how many credits you want. And that's based on how many clients or how many sites are you managing or whatever. And we have Lite, which is kind of like the hobbyist, Pro, which is kind of like, I have a couple rank and rents and affiliate sites and a couple personal sites, and then agency where it's like, look, I'm an agency. I'm going to be doing this with everybody I got. So yeah, no difference actually.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, and basically you just took the Project Supremacy. This is basically Project Supremacy on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're 10 years old now, and your first question is like, what have you been doing? And it's like, I've been doing the same thing I'm always doing, just like using it, finding ways to make it better, kind of rolling with the times too. Obviously, as AI came along, we're like, well, we should really look at this, and we were a little uncertain at first on how and what it could do. But I mean, if you apply enough pressure to something, eventually it turns into a diamond, right? So that's kind of what we've done.
This is pretty awesome.
It's a good tool, man. It's like some of the case studies that I want to talk about. Joe Troyer?
Mm-hmm.
He came to me. So, okay, let me start with like local examples. Okay. So my own SEO agency, I'm in Edmonton. There's 1.5 million people here. There's like anywhere from 24 to 3,000 searches a month for like Edmonton SEO style keywords. And my agency, I kind of let it go a long time ago to focus on developing software to do rank and rent. So the best I ever got at that keyword Edmonton SEO was like, I think 12 or 14 or something. And then as I kind of left it, it just fell out of the top 100. And then as we're building Xagio, I'm like, I need sites to test on. So I went and ran the AI, and all I did was optimize with AI. That's it. I didn't add content, add backlinks, and just decided to optimize with AI. Within 48 hours, I went from outside of the top 100 to number 9. And then another 7 days later, I was number 1. And not just for that keyword, for every keyword. Now that's just with optimization. And it's such a strong kind of thing. Like, most people think you need to do so many other things, like, surfer optimize your content and build interlinks and build backlinks. And those are all timely and costly. AI obviously helps with that. But what about the fundamentals? Did you build your house on a solid foundation first, right?
Yep.
And that's optimization. And until you have that right, I don't think you have any business doing all the other stuff. So it's funny looking backwards, going to a site that, I've got links and I've got history and I've got all this other stuff in place, but my foundation is weak. So I went and improved the foundation by doing a proper optimization. I shot all the way up to number 1 for my whole cluster of keywords for my SEO agency. Now that's a local case study. And I do this for clients now too. First thing we do is optimize. Okay. And I tell them that I'm not a recurring charge SEO agency. The first thing we do is optimize. If we don't get you the results that we want, then we'll talk about a recurring package. But right now we need to focus on getting your foundation correct. And they love that. Close clients like crazy now, like, because of that. I haven't yet had a client who, once we optimize their website, not be like, you're so good. Like, oh my God. Everybody, we had a drywall client in Edmonton, again, big city, tons of competition, from 29 to number 2, just with AI optimization. But then the Joe Troyer case study was a really interesting one, because when we first analyzed his websites, he was doing like a tiny home builder nationwide. And I was like, Joe, you're killing it, man. Like, you have number 1 rankings everywhere we go. And he's like, yeah, but how can we, improve it? And I was like, at first I was like, I don't know. Right. So we actually developed new features into our software to look for low ranking keywords, right?
Yeah.
Number 1, low ranking. Number 2, high traffic. And then we tweaked our software to find that, and we did. And then we re-optimized based on that data. And we're talking about keywords that are like over 30,000 searches a month. And we brought him from like page 3 and 2 to number 2 with AI optimization for multiple keywords. And he has a whole series that we did together. I think we did 6 sessions together, looking at a site, breaking it down section by section. We're going to do this silo first, this silo next, and then that silo next. He called it the road to 200K, because his goal was to double traffic from 100,000 monthly visitors to 200,000 monthly visitors, purely with re-optimization of the website. So meta optimization. And that's something that most people would be like, good luck, right? Because they don't understand how powerful it truly is. But yeah, we had crazy good results on that case study. And it was, again, just based on meta optimization and looking for, weaknesses or weak foundations, and then strengthening them. Now, if he was to go build, backlinks, well, I mean, he's already moved a whole bunch, but you build backlinks at this point, once a foundation's strong, you don't need many. Like, it's crazy. Like, a lot of people will build 100 backlinks to a page that maybe requires only 5.
Yeah. I just did a whole, when I spoke last week in Orlando, it was all about backlink strategy. And I'm just like, if you're in a local business and you have a line item to spend $500 a month on backlinks, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. It's never the first place I look. The 2 places that most people look, what's up with my content optimization and what's up with my backlinks. And those are the last 2 places I look.
Yep. We've been repurposing a lot of old content, especially old light content. 300 or 400 words used to be the norm. And I just took on a medical spa about a month ago, and she's like, what kind of content plan do you have? I said, right now you have blogs all the way back to 2014. I'm not going to be writing new content for a while. And she's like, oh, that's such a good idea. I'm just like, well, I don't need to get it approved, obviously, and if you have 12 blogs that are 300 words, you combine those into 4, and redirect them all and interlink them all. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. And this happened to me. I tell this story when we were on vacation in San Diego during COVID. I actually looked at my site and I was like, oh shit. I haven't touched my site in like 4 years, and I went and looked at some of my old blogs and I'm like, what the hell? I got 300 words and like nine internal links. So it's just like,
it's funny too, because like that agency case study was really interesting, because if you go and look at it from the perspective of Surfer SEO, which is such a popular tool.
Yeah.
And three of the metrics that they look at when you do a site audit or a keyword audit of the top 10 is your content length versus the top 10, your content optimization score versus the top 10, and your backlink quality versus the top 10. The Edmonton SEO keyword, I was the weakest on all 3 counts, but ranking number 1. And that blew people's minds. They were like, it was like 200 or 300 words of content. I think it was by far the worst backlink score. And my content optimization score was somewhere down in the 40s, like really bad according to Surfer. And what I was trying to tell people is like, what really matters in the order of what comes first? Is it backlinks? Is it content? Is it Surfer optimized content, the content length? And I was trying to get them to think, right, by showing them this. And if those things matter, and if they come first, how come I'm beating everybody with the worst backlinks, the worst content score, and the least amount of content? And it was simple. It was just like, I'm targeting the right keywords with the right optimizations. And that's all you need. And it blows people's minds because they're trying so hard and doing so much and spending so much money without those things in place. Yep. And it's kind of like banging my head against the wall to get people to really understand this, because they just don't believe it. It sounds really unbelievable to hear that I can increase your website's ranking from page 3 to number 1 just by re-optimizing the words that you're using on your title, meta, and description.
Yep.
It's that powerful.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It is. It's crazy, man, because I've reopened my agency and I'm building my success off of meta optimization, which is, it's insane, right? It's insane to say.
One of the things if somebody's been using your tool for a while and they lose a client and they delete that website from your dashboard, it doesn't revert any old shit back, right?
If they delete the plugin?
Yeah. I mean, obviously
on Yoast if you deleted the SEO plugin.
Well, I mean, basically, if they, if I take on a client, say for instance, and they have the plugin in there, and I have no idea what this is, and I disable that plugin, does anything revert back?
Well, it has nothing to revert back to. Like, let's say they started with Yoast and then you switched over to Xagio.
Yeah.
The first thing Xagio does is say, okay, let's take everything from Yoast and put it in Xagio as a starting point, right? So that you can turn Yoast off and you have a net zero effect. But now if you go move forward with Xagio, you make a bunch of optimization changes and shit like that, and then you delete Xagio, well, you're going to revert back to, if you didn't delete Yoast, you're going to revert back to Yoast.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all that work and stuff that the other agency did is gone. Okay.
Or you could just go back to like a lot of people are like, well, what happens if I cancel my subscription? Do I lose my rank? It's like, no, you just go back to the free version, which maintains everything that you've done. You just don't get to use the premium features anymore because you don't have credits. So you can't move forward. But we're never going to I'm big on ethics, right? I'm huge on ethics. And I think it's unethical if someone does pays for my tool, pays for a bunch of credits, gets a bunch of work out of it, then cancels their subscription because they've got what they needed out of it. And I say, I'm taking it all back. That's not fair. They paid me for that, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So they can revert to a free version, which maintains the plugin, because we're now on the WordPress repo anyway, and they get to keep all that work. They just can't move forward.
Well, and that brings up a really good point, because we had a situation not too long ago where we had done a lot of work within a plugin, within an SEO plugin, and then we were completed with the project, paid out, and they moved on to another person. Well, that other person deleted the plugin, and then everything went away. And then the client was coming back to me saying, you never did this. And I'm like, no. I did it. Here's a CSV file of everything, because I luckily had a backup on one of my temp servers. Yeah. But something like that, it really does stir up a lot of questions. I appreciate your ethics, because, That's just the right way to do things. But
yeah,
people
that actually brings
know
up
what
a
they're-
sales opportunity. You know, if a client came back to you and like in that exact situation, because I keep backups too, right? Like not
Yeah.
only do we keep a backup table of our optimizations per page, I can pull that, save it, but also the website, which inherently has that plus everything else. The client hired a new SEO, they deleted everything, tanked the results, you know, kind of screwed it all up from there. And then the client comes back and tries to bitch at me. I'll say, listen, I'll tell you what, there's two things here. Number one, you pay me and I'll put it back to where it was because your new SEO screwed it up. And then maybe you'll look at your new SEO and wonder if they're really as good as they say they are.
Yeah, 100%.
So you can come back to me because you obviously paid someone to screw shit up, but now you have to pay me to unscrew it because I ain't working for free.
Yeah. If we want that client back. Yeah.
There's another interesting ethics question too about, say you go in and do a bunch of work with a client and you get them results and you've done it inside of a plugin and whatnot, and then they cancel. Does that give you the right to undo the work that you've done? You know, a lot of people think like that. And personally, I think no.
No.
Like they paid you for work, you did the work. Now, if you were on a monthly retainer and they canceled, like to me, if you're on a monthly retainer and they cancel, that just means the work stops. It doesn't mean you go and revert all the work. However, what if they're on a monthly retainer and they didn't pay the last month or 2 months of the work that you did do? What do you do now?
Well, what we do is we just stop any forward work and just call it. I mean, yeah, they do owe us for previous, and if we can collect on that invoice, great. But we've not gone back and undone anything. That's just like how we are. But a lot of people do.
Well, when I was selling backlinks, you know, I'd get all kinds of requests. Hey, this client canceled. Can you delete all the backlinks you built for them? I'm like, no. Why would you do that to them?
Well, you have an outstanding invoice, right?
So, well, yeah. I mean, that would.
If someone was living in your house and they didn't pay rent for 2 months, would you kick them out?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
For sure. Yeah. And would you try to reclaim the past 2 months of rent?
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Here's what we built into Xagio because of this exact situation. You have the ability to remotely turn off the database connection to the optimizations and hide the plugin from the client site so that they can't do anything about it. So all of a sudden the rankings tank, right? So you got to grab them by the balls because they've grabbed you by the balls and you got to squeeze harder than they did. And you go in and you remotely turn it off and now hide the plugin. So they can't delete it. They can't see it, but you've turned off all the optimizations. Their rankings are going to have a lag effect, right? They'll maintain until Google catches up and then they tank. And then the client comes to you. Blah, blah, blah. And what are you going to say? I could fix that problem. No, like in 48 hours, you can be back, pay your bill. So we built that feature in for shitty clients because I do believe that's an ethical way to handle that situation. Hold them hostage a slight way. But if you're working with like a Yoast or an all-in-one or something, and you don't have that ability, unless you go in and delete the work, take a backup, you know, delete the work and then serve the empty database, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And then
if they go in, that's a great topic.
It is, especially, you know, like we had a foundation repair company and the cancellation was totally fine. And then they went out and completely rebuilt the website, obviously. Didn't pay attention to URL structure or nothing and freaking tanked it. And I sent his smart ass little me. I sent him a freaking snapshot of his keywords just in the past 60 days. Literally, he lost 2/3 of his keywords in 60 days. And I said, I don't know what happened, but I'm hoping you guys have a plan to fix this. You know, because his son took over the business. So, his son was not the sharpest tool in the shed. So, you know, and I told his dad, when he left, I'm like, I think you need to keep an eye on your son, you know, just because I know the call logs and I see how he answers the phone and all this stuff. And, you know, and sure enough, they rebuilt the website and, you know, I'm like, And I took it kind of personal because they were with me like 4 years, you know. It's like, you know, what the hell? You know, what the hell
Where
you
did I
think?
lose the trust? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like a lot of that, there's so many. Like I had a situation where a guy hired me to do SEO, and we ended up rebuilding his website. And then like I went outside of the scope of what I was hired to do. He had go high level integrations, didn't know how to do it, didn't know how to go inside the back and go. So I went and did that above and beyond the SEO, right? And we got him great rankings. He was a national leaf gutter guards guy, and he paid his invoice. We did the design, we did the optimization, we handled multi-locations really, really well, and got him ranking like number 1, 2, 3 in all these little suburbs, right? Like just tons of them. And then his past SEO, even though he'd moved on from her to me, went and started like whispering in his ear, like he's handling these location pages all incorrectly. So he started getting really weird, right? And then started asking me questions, and I want to go through. I was like, dude, you don't need to have me on the call because I gave you a rank tracker. Like that's one thing I do for my clients. Like every keyword we're going after, we approve first with the client. And then I give them a shared URL that they can go check on their rankings anytime they want. And he's like, yeah, but that's your software. I was like, dude, you can put the keyword in Google and see for yourself. Like you click on it and it opens up Google and see and he got really paranoid because of the whispering of his old SEO, and it ended up crashing the entire deal. And so he went back to her, she redid the site and lost all the rankings.
Wow. That's
and
crazy.
I was like, dude, I don't understand, because you hired me to rank in all these locations, and there's the rank tracker showing that you're ranking in all these locations, but you're going to listen to her saying it was done wrong, even though you got what you paid for. You got the result you paid for, and you're questioning it. And it's like some clients, like there is an education aspect to this with hiring clients, like teaching them, and that part kind of sucks, right? But that goes with me, at least now, in lines with how do I talk to clients in the beginning stages, and what expectations am I setting with the client? You know what I mean? And I straight up say, do you have any other SEOs, web agencies, or internal networking staff that are going to be working on the website? Because if you do, we need to set a boundary between who does what. Right? Like those kind of conversations, I think it's really behooves an SEO agency to have those early, set those expectations. Excuse me, because I've seen people come in when I'm doing work and start changing shit. Like, what are you doing, man? For sure. And then they're going to blame you for things that go wrong, right? Because they're paying you, so they need to blame someone, but they're not going to blame their guy. They're going to blame you, even though they're the ones that screw it up. So, yeah, really interesting.
If somebody builds a website with your templates, what happens with that website if they leave?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, they kind of pay for the template, so they get to keep it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I kind of, because this has a claim button there. So yeah, definitely. Okay, cool.
Yeah, once you claim it, it's you download files. It's an export file for Elementor. It's on your desktop. I mean, there's not even anything we could do about it at that point. We thought about building that feature of, you got to have an active Xagio subscription or whatever to maintain templates, but we're like, nah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
We're pumping those out like 5 a week now, so it's
right on. Man, I had a lot of websites in there. I had a lot of my PBNs in there that I don't have anymore.
All my PBNs. All of them. Yeah. That's one of the best features, I think, for anyone that runs a PBN, is running it through Xagio is just crazy good. I haven't tried building content via the AI in Xagio yet, specifically for PBN management, but I'm gonna.
Right on.
Yeah, like scheduling, posting, like everything.
Right on. That's pretty cool. Right on. We'll take a look at that. So, SEO spring training. I'm so excited to have you come down.
I'm nervous.
Are you able to bring Tennille with you and the kids, or just?
Nah, man. Like Goldie's 2, King's 6, and then Tennille's like, well, I could go hang out in a hotel with these crazy kids, or I could stay home with the comforts and the things I need to take care of these kids. She's like, I want to go, but if you're going to be busy for 4 days, she goes, unless someone's there to help me with the kids, it doesn't sound like a cool thing. It's not a vacation for me. Like it's just, in fact, it's harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough traveling with littles for sure. I mean, we had 5, one time we had 5 under 9. So yeah, we didn't go on planes. If we couldn't drive, we didn't go. So
no, just me this time. Maybe when the kids are a little older, and if I'm still invited back ever, then we'll see.
I'm sure
awesome.
you will be.
Yeah.
No.
Elizabeth, do you want to talk a little bit about the conference?
What would everyone like to know?
What am I going to talk about? I've been racking my brain about this. I know you guys like laid out. I watched the replay of the thing, and I think you put me in an AI automation room. Now, here's one thing I don't want to do. I don't want to be a pitch fest talk, right?
Yeah.
But it's so hard when I've spent the last 10 years building a software to automate the processes that I know. And what I came up with is I could probably teach people, the manual aspect of things that are going on behind the software, and teach them that, and teach them why, teach them the importance of like what I've been talking about today with meta optimization and how to do it manually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a pitch fest. I want to offer real value, but I won't lie to you guys. I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things. I mean, and I don't have the schedule here in front of me, but the biggest thing, and I didn't know where to place you. So if you wanted to be more, I would love to. I think lead gen is an important aspect of what this process is. So I think that you'd be good over in the SEO room doing lead gen stuff, teaching.
Yeah.
Because that. I mean, even when you talk about it, I can see it's still a passion of yours.
So it's just it's.
And you're right. I think that people are going to get into the game, or even people that are in the game that are still struggling, maybe they need to have a rank and rent side gig, something that they can learn from. Again, I know people send me sites to look at all the friggin' time, and I ask them two questions. Number one, how long has this client been a customer? And number two, what the F? And they typically send me these sites because somebody's leaving. I'm like, I would have left 4 months ago with this crap. Where did you learn this? And Facebook groups or whatever. And I literally take it not necessarily personal, but I'm just like, you need to stop testing shit on client sites right now.
Oh yeah. Early in my career, I remember, because I was part of the OMG group, and I won't mention names, but one of the pieces of advice that I was given that just shook me to my core was like, learn SEO on your client's budget. And I was just like, oh my God, like, how could you say that as a coach and a mentor in a group? Right? Because I just thought that was like the most unethical thing in the world. Like, how could you comfortably sleep at night taking people's money and then turning around and being like, how do I do this? Like, I got the money. Like, no.
It's crazy stupid.
Some people are cool with it. It ain't me, but
no.
It's not that hard to learn.
It really isn't. I mean, it's just, you can, the basic fundamentals, if you just follow the plan.
1, 2, 3 for me. Keyword research, on page, off page, boom.
Exactly. Yeah. And me, I'm an on-page guy. I'm like, I'm all about on-page. We've seen more success with really killer on-page than we ever have with a backlink strategy. Mainly because, the two things I don't like about backlinks now is that $30 backlink is now $150. It's no longer, it's not any more powerful. And it is literally taking Google 3 to 4 to 5 months to get credit for that backlink.
I was just going to say, because I built I built another tool that I have not shown anyone. It's anyone that's in my Teach Team SEO, because a backlink tracking service, right? It's called Link Sheets. And what it does is as you build links, okay, you enter it into the sheet and you tell it, like, I'm building this link to try and rank this keyword. Yeah. And what it does is it overlays when you built the link, when it indexed, and then your rank track every day. So you can truly see the effect of a link built, a link indexed, and how it affects your rankings over time, right? And through that, I've noticed that backlinks are actually taking longer to pass that ranking effect, whether it's positive or negative, than I've seen in quite a while. I used to see 48-hour turnarounds on backlinks, and I'm seeing like weeks now.
Yep.
And it's interesting. It's very interesting. And it might have something to do with that Google leak doc or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think Google's having a major bandwidth problem right now. Obviously, they have been for a while But and that's the biggest thing about. I know a guy that's loading up 100,000 pages a day with his AI tool, and I'm just like, dude, you're part of the problem, buddy.
Yeah, I kind of put that whole realm in, like, right now up in Canada, the CRA's losing their minds trying to catch up to crypto. Like, how do we tax Canadians on crypto? And Google, I feel like, is the CRA of the SEO industry. And they're like, holy shit, like, how do we keep up with AI?
Yeah.
Like, it exploded so fast. They didn't have, you know, like you said, the bandwidth to like keep up with the changes. Like, and Google to me is a cat. Like, Google needs black hat SEOs. Okay.
100%.
Google ain't going to get better if everybody's following the rules. Nothing changes in that. We need anarchy, right? So black hat SEOs expose loopholes in Google, and Google patches them. And then the black hat SEOs exposed. So right now, I think what's happened is it's like AI's done this. And goes like, oh shit. Stop everything, maybe, right? Like, let's just pause, you know, any updates. I don't know. I'm not like looking at the not the white sheets, but the patents and stuff. But there's definitely a delay that's happening now that's interesting, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Meta optimization is still wicked though. That happens fast because you have access to Search Console. You put it in.
100%. And that's what I like about content nowadays. We're seeing, you know, ups and, you know, immediately through clustering, and you know, I'm all about clustering content right now. I don't think we've ever in the past year we've written one article about toilet leaks, one article about hot water heaters. I mean, it's either like 10 about hot water heaters or freaking, you know, I mean, we're covering the whole freaking cluster all at once. You know?
This is going to be an interesting conference for me because number one, I've been here's my life right in this room. And then when I leave this room, I'm with the kids. Like I'm not out there talking to other people and trying other strategies. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm more in the face of what people are teaching. I'm saying you don't need good content. You don't need backlinks, right? And that's like a quite a bit different than what people teach.
Yeah.
And it's because of what I see. Like if I take a rank and rant site, I've never built a rank and rant site that didn't rank number one with more than five backlinks. You know what I mean? It's only taken me 5 because I'm so good at the fundamentals. Yeah. And I'm telling people this, right? And it's in the face of a lot of things. And then saying like, you don't like with clients, I'm like, I advise all my clients against blogs. And now I have my own reasons for that, right? It's because of the data that I've gone through and my experiences. I advise against it. I think it's not, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. But because of I'm so set in my ways and I'm so closed off from the outside world, I believe that there's a whole opportunity out there for me to learn new things and like content clustering and stuff like that. You know, topical authority stuff for bigger sites. I'm very focused on local. Like I don't do much affiliate at all. And I think that that's where that world will really open up to me. But it'll be interesting to get other perspectives about what's going on with local. I feel like I have it nailed down real good. But I definitely want to hear what's going on everywhere else. And hopefully I won't be like, you don't need to do that. But I am.
We've all found out, you know, through trial and error, there's a million ways to rank a website. So, I think it's just a matter of which one's efficient, which one's, you know, I really like the idea of which one's going to keep you up there the longest. You know? We all know it's halfway easy to get you to the top 3, but staying there is a whole freaking different ballgame because now you have the target on your back. So,
I've had negative SEO actually like negative SEO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like what you said, the target on your back.
Yeah. You know, or just doing different things. You know, I've had all the tools, you know, and I still use Quora when I need to pull it out of the closet. So
shiny objects.
So yeah, shiny object syndrome. But the idea though is that, you know, you're right. Once the optimization is set up right, I do think that right now the most important ranking factor is internal linking, just because of whether it's crawl budget, whether it's, you know, kind of helping Google decide where it's going to go for the half a millisecond that we have, or whatever it is, you know. So, you know, but there's all kinds of stuff that's going to be covered. And AI and automation is so important in my mind. We're actually having those 2 breakout rooms this year. Last year we didn't have them. Obviously, didn't think we need them because that nothing had hit yet. But I think if number one, if you're not using AI, you're falling behind. And even more important, if you're not automating the simple processes in your life, you're also falling behind. You're working harder.
Well, here's an interesting question for that AI automation room is like, I mean, there's the LLMs, ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek, right? And so there's the LLMs, but then there's the tools that are built on the LLMs.
Exactly.
And are you focused on one or the other or both, or like, what are you hoping that your, conference attendees are going to get out of that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like Dan Kurtz talks about using Make to automate like an onboarding.
Is that like an agent tool?
Huh? It's like Zapier on steroids.
Okay.
So, but we've done that on the onboarding side to where onboarding now, once they pay the bill, all kinds of shit just happens automatically. So me or my staff or anybody doesn't have to do that. We're also building out some automations on the reporting side because I have a reporting dashboard that people can log into.
Mm-hmm.
And so through automation, we're pulling in these different data streams into one kind of dashboard system. And then, but again, proposals, I'm trying to figure out how to automate my proposals. I don't know. I've always had this thing about, I've got to be customized, and I'm sitting there going, I'm 61 years old. I'm tired of freaking customizing every damn proposal. They fall into 3 buckets, and it all based on how fast you want to rank. That's what the bottom line is. So,
what's interesting about that too?
What's that?
What's interesting about that? Like when you say I'm 61, everything falls into 3 buckets. Like what I've learned in the last 10 years, not just about like through building Xagio and marketing Xagio and now reopening my agency and shit, is it's so unbelievable about how less is more is so true. Like less is more. And especially from a client perspective, who's, they're coming to you. What they want is leads.
Yep. 100%.
They don't want rankings. They don't want, all this schema and backlinks. They want leads.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can remove as much of the SEO expertise and talk and technical, the technicals of it between your conversation with them, yourself and them, the better off you're going to be.
Oh, yeah.
If you focus on, look, and this is something that I say to onboarded clients. My job, you want more leads.
Mm-hmm.
My job, let's look at it backwards. You want more leads. To get more leads, you need more traffic to your website, right? And to get more traffic to your website, you need higher rankings from the big keywords.
Yeah.
I can't handle what happens on your website unless you hire me to do design. So let's take that out of the picture. And I can't do anything about what you do on the phone. Let's take that out of the picture. I don't control that. So all I really am in control of is getting you higher rankings, which is going to bring you more traffic. Do you agree? Yes. Okay. Rank tracking is all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that these are the right keywords? Yep. Okay. So I'm not going to send you reports on Google Analytics and this and that. Here's the keywords that we talked about. Here's the rankings over time. Leave me alone. And it simplifies the process. And you know what? It actually works. And
totally.
And it's funny because I talk to a lot of clients that are coming to me from past SEO agencies. And the first 2 questions I ask them, and I don't say how much, I said, were you charged recurring? And what kind of reporting did you get? And how well did you understand it?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is always, yes, I'm charged recurring. I do get reports, but I have no freaking clue what they mean.
Yeah.
I was
exactly.
like,
okay, so I'm going to jump in on that because we have really great reporting and we try so hard to get clients on a recurring monthly reporting meeting so that we can go through and explain it. And they just don't want to get on the call. So it's not for lack of trying.
All your client cares about is leads.
Yeah. They
don't care about even what you've done to get them leads. Like whether it's, ethical, unethical, is like, is my phone ringing more? And, is it resulting in more business? And I think a lot of reporting and client dashboard and reporting, what it is really is you trying to justify the work you're doing to them, right? Which is, again, not what they need. They just need more leads. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to the equation, well, how do I bring you more leads? It's through increasing the rankings of relevant keywords. Then the only dashboard you need is a rank chart.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, again, just my opinion, right? But I'm pretty strong on this opinion because I'm, again, removing complexity from my business. thinking about a client and overcomplicating things. And that even involves in the sales process through to the reporting process. I keep as much of the technicals out of it as I can now, because clients, number one, don't care. Number two, don't understand. I do not want to educate a client on SEO.
Yeah.
You didn't hire me to be a consult, like a educator.
For sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Total sense. So anyways, we're about up on our time. So come see Herc in Chandler, Arizona, the first week in May. He's an awesome guy. You're going to love hanging out. So hopefully I still can't. It's funny. I can't schedule the golf until like 3 weeks out. So I'm just like, oh, come on. So it's like the only thing I can't schedule, but I know you're coming in that morning. So I'm going to try.
I'm in at 9:20. So if I have to race to the golf course and catch you on the 7th hole, I will.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to be able to do it, because I wanted to do it about probably 11 tee time anyway. So I think we should be good. So, but
I mean, it's hard to fit in 72 holes when you start at 11 a.m., but I get it.
Exactly right. So, but it's been a real pleasure catching up, man. It's I mean, I miss seeing you and Tennille. Can't wait to see you, and maybe we can figure out a way to get Tennille here. But either way, it's going to be.
We're going to babysit.
We just need a real fun babysitter.
And we have a kid, so
yeah. You're going to stay at the stranger's house that you never met before. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Well, we did keep our 5 alive, so we've got a pretty good track record.
That's what we'll tell them.
Exactly. So anyways, my friend, thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome, man. Can't wait. I'm nervous as hell, but I can't wait. It's my first gig, so.
Yeah, no, it's going to be cool. So let's plan on the lead gen side. If you want to start building and prepare. I mean, obviously that's probably what your passions around your software. It started with lead gen. So.
I'll tell you, Terry, it's not even necessarily lead gen. It's the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because you take that foundation and you apply it to lead gen, you're going to get crazy good results. You apply it to client, you're going to get great results. You apply it to affiliate, you're going to get good results. Mm-hmm. Like, again, the competition goes up in each of those stages, but the foundation needs to be there in all 3. And being that I'm a first-time speaker and being that I love the foundations of SEO, I almost want to start right there. You know what I mean?
I think that'd be a good place to start for sure. So,
yeah.
That'd be
awesome.
awesome.
And I have a lot of proof to back up what I'm talking about. So, and I like it because for a lot of people, like if someone told me you're going to go sit in on a meeting about meta optimization, I'd be like, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
But when you see the true power of what it can do and how much, money and time you can save on things like content optimization and backlinks, and if you're willing to listen and try it, you could put yourself in a pretty badass position.
That's cool. Yep. No, I agree 100%.
So man, awesome. Like foundational SEO and that, I think that would be pretty cool. And then just an open discussion because I could talk about everything. Talk about client onboarding, reporting, software, SaaS, AI, shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love that foundation stuff.
No, I agree 100%. That sounds awesome. So I'm going to reach out to you here probably later today or tomorrow. I just have some questions about the agency level on the software. So I just want to make sure that I'm choosing the right one. So, okay. So anyways, thank you so much. It's going to be awesome. And then have an awesome week. Try to stay warm up there.
Well.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Super pumped to come.
Awesome.